Inflammation, it is a dirty word that so many of us have heard, and it's largely misunderstood by regular folks like you and me. In its simplest form, inflammation is something our bodies do to help us fight off infection, illness, or injury. Too much inflammation, however, can lead to an entire host of chronic illnesses like arthritis and diabetes. Here to explain more about inflammation, our favorite dietitian nutritionist from the BK, Dr. Maya Feller. Hello, she's a registered dietitian nutritionist. It's always wonderful to see you. How have you been?
I am well. Good morning, Marisol. Thank you so much for having me back. It is an absolute pleasure to see you as well.
Oh, I love this. So inflammation feels like it's become this buzzword in the past couple of years. And I think it's really misunderstood by people who don't study or research the industry like yourself. So can you tell us what inflammation is and what are some of the leading contributions of inflammation?
Absolutely. So there are a variety of things that can cause inflammation, and it's really part of the body's defense mechanism. So think of it this way. The right kind of inflammation can help the body heal, while chronic or long-term inflammation can actually lead to other issues such as metabolic conditions. Now, from a food and nutrition perspective, certain pro-inflammatory foods like large amounts of added sugars, synthetic fats, and salts, they can be major disruptors to the body. So for example, regular and consistent exposure to lots of refined carbohydrates and added sugars, along with trans fats, has the possibility to turn into an inflammatory cascade within the body, and that results in that metabolic dysfunction that I was speaking about. So like diabetes, hypertension, elevated lipids, and neurodegenerative diseases.
So one thing can have this long-term effect, as you say, cascading into the next thing. I'm still a little bit confused, but I just want to be healthy. So last time you were here, I don't know if you remember, we did a little quiz. We're going to do this again.
Always love a quiz.
We're going to bring in the gang and test their knowledge of inflammation. Are you guys ready? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Over there? I'm in the traffic center. It's very fantastic. Okay. So first question is, which of the following is not a symptom of inflammation in the body? A, brain fog, B, digestive issues, C, stuffy nose, or D, restless legs. I don't know anyone on this morning show that has restless legs.
I'm going to go with restless legs.
Yeah.
D.
Correct answer would be?
It's only because we can see it. We can see it on the teleprompter.
Oh, did it say that? I wasn't even looking.
It did.
It was? I just assumed
Well, the
because I
correct
have
answer is
legs.
D, restless legs.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
So, there's this research that's looking at brain fog and inflammation. And then there's this thinking that inflammation actually slows down the interaction between neurons. And so that's why we think that the brain fatigues more easily. Now, when we're thinking about digestive issues like gas, bloating, cramps, that can be a signal that there is some systemic inflammation. And it could be a result of a food offender, or maybe there's some type of damage within the gut that's manifesting those unwanted symptoms. And then when we're thinking about the stuffy nose, well, that can be a reaction to an environmental trigger. So maybe there's like a food sensitivity, something like that, that really results in that inflammation of the blood vessels within the sinus. And that's where we see the stuffy nose. But in terms of restless legs, I've got nothing there because it's not a sign of inflammation.
Well, that's good, Manna. You are in luck. There's no inflammation, at least not that Maya can tell so far. Okay, the second question, does inflammation travel through the body? Yes or no? This is a tough one. I had to think about this one. Do you have your answers? And Maya, the answer is?
No.
Yes, it does. Inflammation can absolutely travel through the body. It can cause a whole bunch of problems, just like we were talking about. Think of it like a wildfire that's left unchecked, right? It can impact every organ and system within the body. For example, insulin resistance. That's a sign that the body isn't able to function optimally and sensitize insulin. Then the net result is really higher blood sugars. And thus, as the body is struggling to manage those sugars that are coming into the bloodstream. So inflammation really can touch every organ and every system within the body.
Oh my goodness, I don't know how any of us are going to sleep well tonight, but we will try. But everyone at home should know we're not trying to incite fear, we're just trying to educate. Next question, does anxiety cause inflammation? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, that is the correct answer. Yes. Yes. So there's research looking at these pathways between stress and anxiety and inflammation. And some of these studies are actually saying that there's this interaction between the immune system and the central nervous system. So it seems like high levels of stress can actually have an impact on cell signaling and overall health, and that can induce or increase inflammation.
Another reason why we should meditate, go to therapy, exercise, do something so we can be a little less anxious, especially in the time of a pandemic. I mean, what's to worry, you guys, really? Fourth question, how long does it take to actually reduce inflammation in the body? Because that, I think, is also very important. You can reduce inflammation. So, A,
all
B, C, or D, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 to 6 months?
It depends.
Or D, all of the above?
Yes, it is absolutely all of the above. And I do have to say to the
when
last
in doubt,
question,
always go with all of the above.
There you go, right? You'll always get it on a multiple choice. But if we're thinking about reducing inflammation and reducing stress, there's so many mechanisms and techniques. And so I do think it's right to tell people this is not a lost cause at all. But to this question, how long does it take to reduce inflammation in the body? Really all of the above. From a food and nutrition perspective, increasing, this is the good news, phytonutrient-rich foods like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, they can really help to reduce that systemic inflammation. And all of those foods are antioxidant-rich. And what they do is they work to be protective of cells. In fact, there's incredible research looking at 3 months of diet and lifestyle modification being the same as a low-dose pharmacological agent. That is incredibly good news. That means that modifying what we eat while respecting our cultural foodways and finding time to engage in intentional movement can have a huge impact in a positive way on reducing systemic inflammation and improving health outcomes.
Dr. Feller, one last question, because you talk about food, but what about supplements? Can supplements reduce inflammation?
So that's a fantastic question. Yes. However, I want to say this, that it's important that there are many cases where we say diet and lifestyle modification in advance of supplements. Now, when you're taking a supplement, you want to make sure that it's under the care of a qualified healthcare provider and that they always carry a third-party certification and have undergone rigorous testing. Supplements can help bridge that gap in the case of missing nutrients or when people are following a vegan or vegetarian type diet or lifestyle. So it's important to think about safe supplementation and making an intentional choice when you're supplementing.
Safe supplementation. You heard it here first. Dr. Meyer-Feller, thank you so much. If I don't speak to you, if we don't see you, have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you, you as well, and thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. There you have it. Inflammation. Avoid it. Eat well. Don't be anxious. Don't worry about your restless leg syndrome.
Yeah, right.